The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Trusting yourself and the whole adulting thing can be super hard, even if you're someone who feels established in your life. That's why I personally recommend BetterHelp. Several years ago, I was experiencing a little bit of a loss of identity. I didn't know if what I was doing in my job was right. I didn't know if I was being a good mom. And I just doubted myself and questioned every decision that I made. I found BetterHelp online when I was on the Google machine trying to find help or someone that I could talk to. And what I loved was that BetterHelp was online. So I was able to communicate with a therapist. I took a quiz and they were able to connect me with someone who matched me really well. The therapist that they connected me with was so amazing. And she really gave me the tools and resources that I needed to help clear up my identity again and find out who I was and what I needed because my schedule was so crazy. It was nice that everything was just available online and it was so simple for me. It was a really awesome experience. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/TDD today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TDD for The Dating Detectives.
Oh my God, I'm so excited because today I'm not the only armchair sleuth. Here we have two wonderful guests with Mackenzie and myself from the BCC Club. Sarah and Kendahl, introduce yourselves. What's
Hello.
up?
Hey. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. We love both of you.
Oh my God.
And you're so funny.
Thank you. Sweet. Yeah, well, I'm Kendahl Landreth. And
I'm Sarah Schauer. Yeah. And we're excited to be armchair sleuths.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically you're just Mackenzie has a PI story. It's a Mackenzie Undercover story, but y'all get to hear it with me. It's as simple as that.
I have to know, I know this is your podcast now. I'm asking you questions,
Come on
which is
in.
very rude. But do you feel like this has changed your whole perspective on dating?
Fabulous question.
Thank you so much.
We've definitely discussed this. I think the conclusion I've come to, I'm dating. Mackenzie's happily married.
Oh,
and
very
it's
nice.
beautiful. But I feel more empowered. Like we have more information when we talk about these. I feel a little less alone when people go through some bad dating stuff.
Yeah.
So I still believe in love. I just know what to look for.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. What about you? You believe in love?
I think that a lot of people choose to, which is, it's a good thing that you choose to see the positive in people. But because everybody's just so willing to accept what people say just so easily, people get lied to and scammed so easily. Whereas me, if you tell me, oh, I like your hair color, I'm like, what do you want? Who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you here?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a whole different, just knowing what people are capable of. And it's just a whole different level. I still don't trust my husband. I don't know.
No, but
I'm
that's
just kidding.
good.
He's a really good guy. I'm totally kidding. But if I had a date right now,
Well, it's so scary.
Single.
I have so many friends whose parents, because back in their day, you didn't ask any questions. You just said, you want to marry me? Okay, let's do it. My parents got married after a couple months of dating, and they did not have as much information as they should have had about each other. And then you find stuff out where they're like, well, now I just have to live with this person who's like a pathological liar or whatever. And it's really hard.
No, yeah. My mom proposed to my dad after a week of knowing him.
Okay, feminism.
Yeah, that's kind of a slay.
She's much older than him, and they were both in the Navy. And she was like, she saw him. He was really sad. Okay, so she was a safety officer. He was a weapons officer, and someone got shot on a ship. I don't know if I can say that. But so they both had to be in a meeting. And then my dad looked sad after the meeting. And my mom was like, hey, you have a really cute butt. And then
I thought you were going to say, to make him feel better, she said, do you want to marry me?
No, so they
she
went
opened soft, and then that was the second question.
She's like, you look sad, your ass is nice. And after
I
a
love
week,
that.
Well, yeah, they're
cute.
not great, but they are perfect for each other. And they've been together ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's
Amazing.
all you need. Wow. sometimes good things come out of bad things.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's a good example.
Yeah.
That happens on the stories we hear too. An episode is out where two women dealt with the same dogfish. Do you know what a dogfish is?
No.
It's like a
Mackenzie,
catfish, but a dog.
Tell us what a dogfish is, Miss Mackenzie.
Okay, so we know what a catfish is. It's like if someone uses somebody else's picture to pretend to be someone else, mostly online, right? So a
Yeah.
dogfish is someone who, in the physical form, they are this person. So they show up as themselves, but they're actually lying about something. They're lying about what they do for work, or they're hiding
Oh.
something. They have a whole other family. They have a whole
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
different life. They're basically lying to you about everything that they are as a person. And so that's what we coined the term dogfish to kind of create this visual, like outside of just someone who's a catfish. This is a complete dogfish. Like,
Oh.
It's a full commitment to the bit. Like it is
Yeah.
just
Yes.
living and breathing your lie.
Mm-hmm.
And they are good at what they do, those dogfish.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I was just going to say two women were in a relation with the same guy and are now like besties and came on
Oh,
together.
I
And
like
I was
that.
like,
Yeah, I know there's like different types of liars where it's like 4 types of liars, and where like it was the liar in this situation, he knew that he was making this up, or he genuinely believed that he was this character.
he knew. I mean, he was just
Okay.
a narcissist cheating.
Yeah.
Trying to have his cake and eat it too.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
I do want to have more professionals on the show to talk about that, because I think that's a really good point that I think there are genuinely people out there who do not they don't.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
This is real to them,
Well,
No,
they
yeah.
don't think it's as bad as it is.
yeah.
Right,
Um,
right.
My dad has gone to therapy for pathological lying, and you've heard of white lies. There's actually 4 categories of lies. There's white lies, gray lies, black lies, and red lies, and it divides into 4 by like who you're lying to, whether it be yourself or others, and then whether it's malicious or not. And usually when you're lying to yourself, it's not malicious, is where you find like a lot of like mental illnesses. And so like, yeah, that's definitely something to like look into. But the narcissists usually fall within the red lie, where it's lying to others and it's malicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about this before, where it's kind of like no matter what, if you're doing a bunch of lying, you have something going on that's not
Yeah.
good in your brain. Where we've talked about before, like in murder trials, they'll be like, we're trying to decide if this person is mentally ill. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, he murdered 10 people. So
I would think
he
a
probably
bit.
a little bit, And they're like, either he murdered or he's mentally ill. And the
Yeah.
case we're doing is that he's mentally ill. And I'm like, yeah, it probably both can be true, I would assume.
Mhm.
I would say, yeah, for sure.
Do you want to get into the story?
Yes.
I mean,
I do.
yeah.
I want to hear them.
So I get a call from a wife. I feel like all of my stories sound like that. I get a call from a wife. So I actually got a call from a woman who her and her husband were concerned that their nanny was driving erratically because they got a red light ticket in the mail. So the nanny takes the wife's car during the day, and that's how she takes the kids, and they go to the park and they go to Trader Joe's and Target and all these things, and she drives the wife's car. So the wife, they get in the mail, they got a red light ticket showing the nanny running the red light, right? She's like, oh, she ran a red light. She's got my kids in the car. I want to know what she's doing. Like, I need to see how she's driving. So she wanted me to do surveillance on the nanny just to see how she's driving.
That's
She
so-
wanted to see if this is something that like she makes a habit of. Is she putting her
Yeah.
children in danger?
It's interesting to call a PI. Like, I feel like I would just be like, excuse me, are you a bad driver?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it feels like she probably had, I don't know. I just feel like it takes extreme lengths to call a private
Oh,
investigator.
yeah.
Like, maybe
I didn't even know you could do that. So
Yeah.
now you have
now
one.
I'm going to be calling you all the time. I mean, I guess because she probably is like, the nanny is not going to tell me the truth.
That's
like,
true.
She probably will be like, I'm a good driver. That was a total accident. And that might be true. But also, if she's not going to be like, yeah, I'm a really erratic driver and I do it drunk. I do it
That's
blackout
true.
drunk.
See, I believe in the good of people. I'm like, oh, it was just a mistake. And it's like, no, if you have children, you're right. They should not. You're right. Okay, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have kids or drive.
So she gets this ticket, and I think that it was probably just a matter. There had to have been something else. Like, there has to be something else going on where they're like, you got a red light ticket, because who hasn't gotten one of the, like, every once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
So she wants me to do surveillance on the nanny. So I do surveillance, and I get there early in the morning, and just like clockwork, every day the nanny shows up at the house at like 7:30 in the morning, and she goes inside. They're at home. You can tell that they're like, the kids are playing in the yard, and you can tell when nap time was in the afternoons. Like, so I kind of I got this nanny schedule figured out, right? So it's not one of those things where you just go and you're like, okay, I'll do one day of surveillance and figure out what she's doing. So as a PI, you want to establish habits and you want to establish a routine. You want to see what happens every single day, right? It helps your investigation, helps you paint a better picture. So I go a couple days. Well, I see she just like every other day, she puts the kids in my client's car and they leave. They go to Target. This is a 2-year-old and like a no-year-old, okay? Like like baby.
Yeah.
And so they go to Target and they go to Trader Joe's. They're just running errands, whatever. So this one particular day, it's about lunchtime and they go to a restaurant, like a little cafe type restaurant. And now, mind you, I've been in the car all day. So if they go in somewhere, number one, I'm going to get out of the car and go in with them, covert, like, and just videotape undercover, right? So I'm like, it's lunchtime, I'm hungry. So I'm going to go into the restaurant too. And usually you can go in, grab some food, go back to your car, back to surveillance, and they're in the restaurant. Just because she hired me to do surveillance to see how she's driving doesn't mean that I don't want to know everything. So I want to go and I want to see what she's doing. I went into Trader Joe's with her. I went into Target with her. You just want to see like how they're moving, what they're doing. Cause I want to know everything, right? If you're going to hire me, like you're going to get everything.
Yeah.
So I go into the restaurant behind her and I hear her tell the hostess table for 4. And I'm like, 4? So I'm looking around like, where's number 4? I'm thinking maybe she's meeting a friend. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So they're sitting down and then I see a man who I recognize as my client's husband walk into the restaurant, right?
Oh my God, I knew it.
So I see him walk in and I recognized him because when I took the case initially, I did my research on the client and her family. And so I knew who the guy was. As soon as he walked in, I was like, wait a darn minute. That's the husband. So he walks in. I don't think anything about it at first because, you don't assume anything. It's fine, whatever. So he sits down at the table next to the nanny and they're sitting at a booth, right? And there's like a window next to them. And so he sits down and he says, hi, baby, daddy's here, blah, 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 whatever. Well, so the little baby is sitting on like the little car seat thing and the I'm really great at description.
It makes
and the
total
little
sense.
car seat thing on the booth that's like connected to the table. And then the little 2-year-old is sitting by the window. Well, the dad says, hey, buddy, look at that big bird out the window. And the little baby goes, oh, wait, daddy. And he's turning, facing the window. The dad plants a kiss on the nanny, like sloppy, like French kissing right in the booth in the restaurant, right?
Are they like far from their home too? Or are they like in the neighborhood?
No, they're in their town. Like it's like a small community.
Why would you do that? That is so funny. It's like, go to someone's house. Why are you in public doing this?
And like what kills me is that like the little infant was just like sitting there like,
where's the bird? I don't see a bird.
The little baby's like eating her fist. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. What's she going to say? She's not going to tell on anybody.
Yeah.
And the other little baby, he's like looking out the window. Daddy, I'm here.
He's like gaslighting his son. He's like, no, there's a bird there. He's like, where?
Yeah, keep looking.
It's like doubly terrible.
Yeah.
Keep looking, buddy.
That's so interesting. But the wife never told clearly the husband. There's clearly a lot of not communicating happening because she wasn't like, hey, I got a red light ticket and I'm going to hire a private investigator on our nanny. That was just all private for her.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. Like maybe it was because I chose random days. Like I'm not sure. Like I don't know if he just, but like if you know, he couldn't have known because if he knew, why would he go?
Or he's dumb. He's already dumb.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Like he's already kissing this nanny in front of, as Mackenzie would say, God and everybody.
Yeah.
Out here in front of God and everybody just making out with his baby sitting across in the booth. It's wild. So they're like flirting with one another. They're playing house and he's like touching her leg and he's touching her shoulder and they're petting each other and she's petting his hair and they're just like all lovey-dovey. I'm like, what in the goldfish crackers? Like this is legitimately like,
yeah.
Like what are you doing?
But also as a
Also-
PI, you probably are like, this is good shit. This is good stuff.
Mackenzie has to be a little perv sometimes and just film stuff and be like, it's my job.
Sometimes I even question it because I'm like, wait, what is going on? But I do know that like if this girl, this poor nanny is like, if she prayed for a man, like I feel like the Lord did not give you this lady's husband. Like maybe,
No.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but like, maybe a different one? Do you
God's
know?
like,
wanna
oh no,
speak
I
for-
did. Actually. That was him.
He did it for our podcast. He wanted to give us it's for the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What did you do?
well, the husband leaves the restaurant early, okay, because he's in the middle of his workday. Like he's in his like, what do you call it? Like a
The
suit
suit.
and tie, but
Tuxedo
without the
suit.
jacket. Anyways,
Yeah.
so he leaves to go back to work, right? Well, the nanny loads the kids in the car and drives back home. Now, mind you, she's driving so safely, like so calm. There's no speeding, just like a innocent angel, like floating down the freeway. Like it was
Wow.
fine, right? Like,
She's in a good mood after her sloppy lunchtime smooch.
yeah, I guess. Like, but then I was wondering, like, if she got a red light ticket, like, I wonder if that's a day that she was like rushing home because she just met the husband or something. I would have loved to know what happened that day, but who am
Yeah.
I overthink it too. So, anyways, she takes the kids back home, whatever. Well, I call the mom, my client, later, and I tell her what happened. I sent her my videos and my pictures, and I explained everything to her. One of the big questions that I get is like, if it's not something they hired you to observe,
Yeah.
do you still tell them that information? Yes. So I tell her everything that happened through the whole entire surveillance, right? So in my surveillance report, in everything, I documented, detailed everything, minute by minute, second by second. So I submit this to her. And so the mom loses her mind. Like she's pissed. Like she was calm when she talked to me and she was actually very receptive to the information. She really kept her cool. But then she ends up blasting the nanny on social media, Facebook, Instagram, literally everywhere. So there's like these, for lack of a better term, like a upper class, like kind of hoity-toity,
Yeah.
you know,
A real-
like it's that kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry if that offends anybody. I just didn't know another word to use.
No, upper class is, I think,
That's
okay to use,
A
right?
fact of, yeah.
The
you're
moderately privileged.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just that type. Anyway, she's in like this mom group, right? And they're like all these moms. And it's like, oh, I have these Gucci shoes for my toddler that they don't fit in. You know, I'll sell them to you for $700 or whatever. Like, you know, the buy sell trades and like whatever. All the groups that she was in, she blasted this nanny. The pictures that I sent her, the videos that I sent her, all of this belongs to her. So she can do whatever, right? So she blasts her. But not only is she blasting the nanny, but now she's blasting the husband too, because he's in these pictures.
I
Like
was
you
going
can
to
see
say,
him
is
clear
she
as day.
focusing on the nanny? Because I feel like it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
No, well, she was also blasting him. Like she was saying, like this nanny stuff.
Okay.
But like the post that she wrote was basically, I can't remember word for word, but she was basically saying, this is what the nanny did, and this, like she dogged her husband too, but really she was more focused on like the nanny and like, I trusted you with my children. Like it seemed to me like she was more upset with the nanny who she trusted with her kids than she was with like her husband who she trusted with like, I don't know, her world, but I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just me, I guess.
Uh-huh.
That sucks.
Wow.
Yeah, there were so many comments on the different posts. Like some people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. And other people were like, this is wrong. You should take this down, you know, whatever. So she puts them both on blast on social media, mainly talking about the nanny. I trusted you with my kids, blah, 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 whatever, right? I found it, but I was glad that she didn't include any of the pictures that had her kids in it. And if her kids were in it, she like
yeah.
cropped it so that the kids were not in it. So, and this was like a 25-minute long video. Like at
Oh
the
my
restaurant.
God.
I got everything.
Did
So
she say, like,
Wow.
plug you and be like, and like swipe up if you want 20% off my PI?
well, a lot of people were like, they're like, excuse me, like we need more updates on this. And so we need you to put that in your contract. So one of the ladies on social media actually recognized the nanny as her babysitter. She said, oh my gosh, like we use her for our children, like as a babysitter, that's who we call, right? So they start talking and my client tells this lady everything. Like she spills the beans, tells her like the whole 9 yards, right? Well, the other lady hired her own private investigator to do surveillance.
Rich
On-
people really will do anything.
They just are like, PI, like I lost my sock. Can you come find it?
Yeah.
Come help me find my keys.
Yeah.
Well, she
Ooh, I could use.
So now she
literally.
thinks, she's like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. And she starts putting pieces together in her head. And she's like, I want my husband followed. Like, screw the babysitter. I want to follow my husband. So she hires a private investigator to follow the husband. Well, first I was offended because I'm like, hello, you could have just hired me, but I mean, it's fine. So the other lady who recognized the nanny from the social media hires a private investigator to follow her husband because she's like, gosh, like I've had this feeling for a long time, whatever. Well, whenever she follows her husband, now this is a lady who lives very, very close in proximity to my original client, right? So the private investigator follows her husband to my client's nanny's house, okay? Mind you, I wasn't the private investigator on this case. Someone else was, right? They documented the husband making out with this nanny and do it like whatever. He goes to the house, he goes inside. As he's leaving, he's kissing her goodbye. The video showed him squeezing her butt, like they're like intimately saying goodbye, right? So she tells my other lady, now mind you, this isn't something, I just need to put the disclaimer. I did not observe this. This is coming from my client's friend
and
private
our
investigator.
podcast.
So I did not
Entertainment
observe
only.
this. This is just what they're telling me. So the private investigator documents that lady's husband like groping the nanny, right? Well, whenever I spoke to my client about it and she's telling me what's going on, I look at the video and I said, that's not your nanny. I said, that's another girl. And so I did a side by side and I pulled it up on my phone and I showed her, I said, here's your nanny. Look how tall she is and look at her hair. And so you're seeing all these differences. And I'm like, that's a totally different girl. So end up.
But they're at the original nanny's house?
House. Yes. So
Aw.
she pays me to do another day of surveillance. I go back to the nanny's house to do because now I want to find out what in the devil is going on. So I go do surveillance back at the nanny's house, and there are 2 girls that live there and a third one who comes occasionally to like, I guess they're just like friends or whatever. And there were
Or business
multiple
partners.
men coming and going from the nanny's apartment with the 2 girls, like kissing them and telling them goodbye. And the third girl occasionally showing up. So have you seen the movie, The Babysitters? If you haven't, like it's exactly like that. I compared it to the movie like The Bling Ring, but like with husbands. Like
I was going to say
like,
risky business. Like just having like, I mean, I guess.
These are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
These are not babysitters. These are moguls.
I want to know
That's
what their
all.
listing is like on whatever babysitter.com that they're like.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, who hired the nannies?
Probably
You
should
know?
like
The
babysitter.com
men
or something.
or like the wives? Because if it was the men, I'd be like,
They
probably
already
the
knew.
wives.
yeah.
so my client hired her nanny because she was recommended to her by another lady. So she came recommended in their area. And so I'm like, oh my, like I could earn so much money if I go back to her and like backtrack all the places that nanny has worked.
yeah.
I could make a killing like busting all those husbands.
Yeah.
Wait, so how many husbands do you think are in this mix based on your observation? So you said there were multiple people that came through.
So as I did another day of surveillance, and there were 4 men that came and went from the nanny's house outside of my client's husband and the other lady's husband. So I know of 6 that were observed, but the other lady's husband was observed by the other private investigator. So I don't have like in my possession that video or, pictures, but I only saw it. So I saw him, I saw my guy, and then on my surveillance, I saw 4 others. So they are legitimately like turning this thing around. Like it is a revolving door in that apartment. It's wild. And what was interesting to me was that this is a high-end neighborhood. They drive nice cars. Like you just don't realize that like these things go on like in no matter what kind of neighborhood. Like this is not limited to, we always talk about women that this happens to and they feel dumb, they feel ashamed, they feel ugly, they feel all of these things. And it's like, no, you are none of those things. This is not your fault. Like this happens anywhere and everywhere. It really, really does.
I think that's like a heartbreaking thing that a woman would be dumb for trusting her husband.
I know.
Like, do you like that should break your heart? Like
That's
like,
a really good point, Sarah. That's a really good point.
yeah, like you love this person, you probably dated them for a long time, and then at the end of this, all you see is a woman who like gave her entire being. And you're like, you're dumb for trusting the man who is
You
supposed
should have known.
Yeah. I was thinking of like a similar angle too. Like if a parent treats their child like crap and their child loves the parent, like when you grow up and you talk about in therapy, no one's going to be like, you're dumb for loving your parent.
So true.
Like it's like that's the person who's supposed to love you. So like that's the same with like husband and wife. And
you commit to that. And you also just want to believe that you have a good relationship. Nobody wants to find this stuff out. And I think that's a lot of, and that's not a dumb thing or a weakness to maybe like I've done that. I feel like I've totally been like, I know this is probably true, but I'm just going to ignore it.
Yeah.
As long as I can, because maybe I'm out of my mind. That's the other thing. We don't trust ourselves.
Well, right.
In relationship.
Well, and just separately, 6 dudes one day, I'd be raw.
I'm a little confused by that part. Can I be honest?
We
Are
have
they
3 women
having
working.
sex?
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
I mean, I guess we don't know for sure, but it does sound like we have some kind of brothel in the in the
I mean,
works here.
listen, like obviously I can't go in the apartment and videotape, but like it really doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out what's going on. Like we don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't need it. I don't math.
You don't need to know. You're like, something not good's going on.
So what happened when you told the wife, not only was your husband with the nanny, but also the nanny was orchestrating a whole thing with all of the men? I mean, I'm sure she went back to Facebook. I can imagine that post would have been fun.
Well, they blew it up. Like she talked about it. She went on her post and she posted all about it. Like she made it clear, like this is what's going on. But the only thing is, like, what are you gonna say? Like you can't prove it. What are you gonna do? And like if she like, what are you gonna do? Show them the video of these? Like she can put the guys on blast, right? And be like, is this your husband? But like. Now she looks like the villain. You know what I mean? Like, and so now she's got this life and she's well respected in her community. So like, at what point do you say, you know what? Like, I'm going to stay in my lane. Like you deal with your husband. I'm going to deal with mine. And like, what do you do from there? So I feel like she said what she had to say. And like, what do you do? Like, it's embarrassing, right?
Is it illegal
like, even though it's not your fault, like it's still embarrassing.
I honestly like that she shared it on Facebook because I think my initial reaction was be like, they should keep this private. But I do feel like people, especially when you get in groups, the community that it sounds like you're talking about, people get very like, oh, well, I don't want anyone to think anything. My family's perfect.
Yeah.
And everything. I love that she was just like, my husband's cheating on me with our nanny. My life is terrible.
How do we feel about the nannies a little bit? Because I do fall into every now and then I'm just like, I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Like
I
sometimes
love the nannies. Can I say I love them? I think they're awesome. And in my head originally, I was imagining this is probably not what was happening. But when you first were describing it, I was like, oh, these 3 nannies live together and they've set out on a mission to marry one of these men so that they can get all this money. And they're working together and they're dating all these men. Because I guess to me, I didn't go to like prostitute because I was like, because they were going on this date and it seemed like showing affection. And you said he came to the house and was like kissing and all over each other. To me, that reads more like, oh, I'm maybe a sugar baby or I'm whatever, trying to like, not that this is what all sugar babies do, but I'm trying to seduce in a way to be like, I want you to really like me. And involving the children, felt like they went out to lunch with the children.
That's the love.
Yeah.
Maybe, right. So I'm like, maybe they really were being like, I'm in love with you and I'm in love with all of you in this whole community. One of you will leave your wife for me.
It's like The Bachelor.
I mean, right.
Well, and like the men were all older. Like you could tell from their like just their appearance, you could tell they were a little bit older. And all of the girls were very, very young, like early 20s. And they're all in college, every single one of them. So that sounds to me,
this was their
that's
business.
me speculating the sugar baby thing, but it very well could be. Like, obviously, I can't prove it.
I love them.
I think they're kind of like annoying. Like they are really annoying because you're in Florida where everyone's old and retired, and you pursued the people who were married. Like if you want to find old rich people who are alone. You can
go to Boca.
Yeah, and there's a way to be a discreet escort with. So if you just wanted the cover of a nanny, like there's
you
so much
there
more.
Are plenty of
there's
lots of work.
Yeah,
there's lots of business,
and you went for the families.
But you don't think these men were already cheating on their wives?
Oh no, the men are obviously going to cheat in any way. I'm saying these ladies, if they do that, like get your money, but like you don't have to do it in the grimiest way possible.
Sure.
Well, I wonder how it started. Like, I wonder if they started with wholesome intentions of being a nanny, and then maybe one of them started an affair and figured out that there was more to it. I mean, we're writing a screenplay. Like, you
I
wrote
was
your own just there with your theory. Like, it's interesting.
Well, because it does feel very comical that if they weren't nannies first and then they were like, and we'll all be nannies. Like, as if they're really like in their main character.
Everyone in this situation went to the most extreme. The woman, private investigator. The sex workers, nannies. Like, there's like a couple steps before both of those things where everyone just went like 0 to 100. You know?
Immediately public. They said no private. We're immediately going public.
And this is not, and just to make it clear for our listeners, I want you guys to know that there's nothing funny about the situation.
Oh, no.
And we don't want to make light of it. However, this situation is ridiculously
Bonkers.
Ridiculous.
It's like, what the hell? For my client, she was just so, like, even she was laughing about it. But though you're laughing about it, this is a very serious situation. And it is, but you guys have to admit this story is a freaking doozy. Like, it's wild.
I love that you said that. And I think it's sometimes you have to laugh. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Oh
so
my God,
absurd
yeah.
that's the only way you're going to get through
She
it.
was like, praise the Lord for this red light ticket.
Right.
She's
Well,
like,
right. Because
I'm so
that's the
glad.
thing. You've given her now some freedom of, I mean, she would have been married to him for years and years and years. And I mean, I guess maybe she wouldn't have cared, but I'm like, it's so nice now that she knows. Do you feel that people get like addicted to calling a PI? Because
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, like, I feel like they're now living, if you have enough
it's like
money.
your first tattoo.
I mean, right, because how can you go back? You now are like, it's kind of the, like, if you could have one superpower, would you pick to, like, be in the room and know what everyone is saying about you? And if you have enough money and you do it once, you suddenly live in a world where you're like, I don't have to not know anything. I can know everything.
I do have clients like that. They're like, okay, well, you found out this from me. Can you also do this? Like Hannah said earlier, like they want to know they're like, can you also get this?
Well, because if
And then it's
I
like
had
one
enough
thing after
money
another.
and then I have a relationship with you, so I have your number and I can just call you, I would be like, my sister said something kind of off the cuff. Can you go sit at breakfast and see if they say anything about me?
Yeah.
Or like, my birthday's coming up. Surprise party?
Right.
But you're good. I mean, do you want to talk about how you accept cases? Because you get a lot.
So private investigators, like you'll never see a commercial come across the TV that says, call Mackenzie private investigator, an agency. Like you'll never see that. It's all word of mouth, right? So this means that someone said, hey, do you know a PI? And someone said, oh yeah, I called this girl. She can help you. But a lot of times they call me because I'm a female. The only reason I became a PI was because my college professor told me I couldn't because I was a girl. And now people call me because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
Because it's a female can, we can use our powers of, persuasion or whatever. And it's a lot easier to talk to a girl most times.
Yeah.
Because females are generally more disarming than a man.
Well, or people
And so
don't
a lot
expect, which is wrong, but people could be like, well, that's not a PI. Like, if someone who's like
No,
a
exactly.
huge 6'6" man walks up to me who's like bald and holding a
It's
donut,
like
I'd be like, you're
when-
probably in law enforcement.
Well, and that's the thing is that a lot of private investigators are ex-military, ex-law enforcement, ex-whatever. And so you can't lose that. Like you have those mannerisms that don't go away. And me, as an attorney called me in court one time, he was like, so you're just a girl in a car with a camera. Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
I would also say, like, I'd prefer, even if I got a PI, I'd prefer to get him like a woman because, like, if I'm trying to sleuth on another woman and she notices that a man is following her, I don't even want to inspire that fear, even if I don't like her.
Well, it's funny you said that because there's a lot of times when people will be like they're suspicious of me and then they'll like come up to my car and I'll roll down the window and they'll be like, oh, thank God. I thought you were following me. And I'm
wait.
like, oh, because like I didn't say anything.
Interesting.
What's your cover story? Like when someone notices you, like you're like, I'm sorry, I was sleeping, long day at work, in the car.
So, yeah,
I'm
it depends on
lost.
where I am. Like it just depends on the situation. It depends on who it is. It depends on like, is it someone young, someone old? And there's always a different situation, right? Depends on demographically what kind of area I'm in. Is this a
Right.
middle class? It just depends. Like sometimes I'm just like, I'll pretend to be on the phone with my mom, or I'll just start crying and
That's
just make
what I
up
would do.
something.
Do you like watch YouTube videos in your car? Or like, what do you do to stay? Because you can't just be watching the outside of this house
But she
for
also
8 hours.
does have to. Like, you can't miss anything. It's crazy how alert you have to be.
So you learn to be, and that's one thing, that's one of the things that's really stressful about being a PI. A lot of people think, oh, you just sit there and watch the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But you are like hyper excited all
Right.
day because you're constantly like anticipating something to happen. And so, yeah, you do Candy Crush, you listen to books
Yeah.
on tape, like audio books, like podcasts, and you like whatever, pay bills, call your mama. Like,
Yeah, because you can't look, because how terrible would that be if she was like, oh, my husband left the house, and you're like, oh my God, I was playing Candy Crush. Oh,
What if you have to
fuck.
pee?
listen, it happens. Like you miss people. Sometimes it happens. If you have to pee, like I have a large like McDonald's cup, like the largest McDonald's cup. And you just pee in it in your car.
Oh my.
In this case, you're a badass.
But it's like you have to remember, like the day I did surveillance on just the nannies, like on just the nanny's apartment, I sat there for like 6 or 7 hours before I saw any activity. There was like
Wow.
nothing. So you have to remember that there's like hours and hours and hours. Sometimes I sit for 24 hours straight.
Do you fall asleep by accident?
Just to like, I mean, yeah, I've fallen asleep. And any PIs out there who say that that's unprofessional and you didn't fall asleep, you're lying through your teeth. You know you did.
I want to hear if you have more questions about PI life. It's always fun. But if you we always talk about like dating and dating red flags. Y'all sound like you're in happy relationships as well.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
but I've
fine.
dated a lot of bizarre people.
Oh yeah, I have a crazy guy story. So I'm a lesbian, but like before I realized that, I went on a date with this dude who creeped me out. He was talking about his ex-girlfriend, and he was like, "Oh, she's a dancer that goes to this university that was like really close by." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, when'd you guys break up?" And he's like, "Well, we really haven't we didn't actually like date, you know?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, like I like her." And so he like showed me all of her like social medias, and she was on the dance team at this school.
So you're like, I feel great about this.
Yeah. But he like was obsessed with her, like talking as if he knew her, and like, but not like a huge fan, but like as in his mind, like
They're dating.
Yeah.
He called her an ex.
Yeah. It was really creepy. We went to like a second bar, and I literally snuck out the back.
Okay, good. I was going to say, Mackenzie was about to be like, second location?
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
snuck
we
out.
don't go to the second location ever.
No.
Wait, that's so weird, but also so glad because showed you.
I'm glad you escaped.
Up front.
Because Hannah went on a
deal.
boat with a stranger and she didn't have a back door. So
You
there's
went on
that.
a
Tell
boat?
me that. Okay,
Anyways, she's never going to live that down.
it's
but
fine because it ended up great and it was fun and I would do it. No, I wouldn't. But yeah,
I'm
it-
super
it's
trusting
my-
as
Spoiler
well.
alert,
I'm
she
very
did not get serial killed.
I didn't
so
get
that's
killed.
the
Good.
thing.
Yeah, no, it was in London. That's why it was like really bad because I was like, I'm in a foreign land,
Yeah.
London.
People
You feel
don't die in
invincible.
Europe.
No, right, exactly. It's never
Yeah.
happened
Wait,
before.
that's so true. When I'm on vacation, I'm like, nothing is like calories, age, none of it is real.
None
Like,
of it matters.
It's not a good.
100%.
It's not good, but it was
No, it
fine.
is good.
But
It's
yes, don't
good.
go to a houseboat on a first date is what we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
That's the takeaway from the show. Don't get on a stranger's houseboat.
Okay,
Yeah.
after the plans I already have tomorrow, then I will start doing that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. It was so great chatting with you guys.
Thank you for
This
having
is
us.
so fun. I kind of want to
Can
just do
you-
this again with I want to hear more stories. So I'm like,
Yeah.
should you just do this on our podcast?
Yeah.
I know, right?
So
we totally should. Will you guys plug your socials, please?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's 255.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry. Okay.
that was good. I like that.
We're the BCC Club Podcast. So we're just the BCC Club on all social media platforms. We're on everywhere you get your podcasts, and we're also on YouTube as well.
And you should like and subscribe to us because we are going to have them on our podcast.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's going to be really
so
fun.
I really cannot wait for that. You guys are so awesome. Thank you, Sarah and Kendahl. You're the best.
You're
Thank
the best. This was such a treat.
Thanks for armchair sleuthing with me.